You're right. Can you imagine that we go back to that? You're glad anyone?
Well, I'm thinking that's.
I'm going to building committee something.
Well,
Jeff,
they got-
we can do it.
Contract with Tuffy dog.
Yeah, we just wanna add, when, just where you gotta haul it to?
Yeah, they got two different kinds of dog food now, they got Tuffy's and then they got Nutrisource is the name of it. Well, Nutrisource has no corn in it, it's all barley.
How do you expect to fatten them up?
Huh?
How do they expect to fatten up a dog? They have to keep them-
Well, there's the allergies in these little dogs. And of course, the Nutrisource costs 3 times as much as what you and I feed our dogs.
Well, you haven't really had that chair.
Well, we used to have a thing in ours, they eat right out of the ground beef pile.
Oh, hell, yeah. Yeah, if they didn't eat with the pigs, they didn't get nothing. Cats didn't kill any mice, they didn't get nothing either.
Dick dogs, you don't have to be them during harvest, they're always around the auger pit, just.
Yeah.
Explain that to me.
Did you ever have a lady out there where the chickens would come and pick the guy grasshoppers and get their heads caught in there? Wow,
No.
that was dinner.
So it's 9 o'clock, so I'll call the meeting to order and if we'd rise and for the pledge of allegiance.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
So for just a point of information for those of you that might not be aware of it, that we are recording and we post our meetings now, so that is a process that is in place. The approval of the agenda, we want to add the building committee. We'll probably try to squeeze that in the front end here. The other thing I'd like to add down on the bottom is Justin Anderson for a legal update.
With those additions, I'll make a motion to approve the agenda.
Is there a second?
I'll second
Any discussion? All in favor, say aye.
it.
Aye.
Opposed? Carried. Approval of the minutes.
I guess I'd like the minutes to reflect that I voted against the Kent Marshall motion.
Yes, I had that same. It says that we made a motion and second, but doesn't reflect the carried or the vote was 4-1 with Troy dissenting. Any other corrections or additions to the minutes? Well, as I'd ask for a motion to approve them as corrected.
So moved.
Second, discussion. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Carried. Approval of the warrants. The batch is sent out.
Mayor, I'll make a motion to pay the bills.
Second.
And motion is second. Is there any discussion? All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Carried. We now have a little time, and so Jeff is here and the building committee, so, Bill and Troy, I think you're on the committee, right?
Mhm.
Yep.
So would you like to?
Jeff's got a proposal from Joe Riley Construction for the road to the east of the courthouse. It's not in the project, so it needs to come here. Jeff, I can.
Oh, I got one extra there.
So, with the law enforcement center being built down below, they also are, making a parking lot down there, and, Joe Riley had that bid. I had him come in and take a look at the, alleyway that runs along the east side of the courthouse between us and Haley Oil, which is it was in poor shape prior to the construction project, but it's really taken a beating this last winter. I have them come and take a look at it and see what we could do to, when they do the parking lot down below, to also, as long as they have all the equipment here, take care of that alleyway. And so this is the bid on that. About 2-3 years ago, I had Riley come in and just look at fixing the asphalt, just sort of grinding it up and resurfacing it, when they were doing the Division Street project down here. I thought maybe as long as they're in town, I could have them come in. And I think that bid back then, just for that simple overlay, was between 25 and 30,000. And so on this project here, he actually did a little bit more in-depth look at it, where he drilled through the asphalt and saw there were some spots where there was actually no foundation or there was no fill underneath. It was just straight dirt underneath the asphalt. And so, so this would actually really, fix that alleyway. We would take off the asphalt. We would actually get some decent fill packed in underneath for support, and then lay the asphalt over the top, and then give it a concrete curb along the edge. On the third page, I did sort of just a sort of schematic. You can see the yellow is where there would be like a drive over curb or a concrete valley, and that will help when the rain comes down hard. It'll sheet it down to the north, and so it'll decrease the erosion along that asphalt and hopefully, give it a good long life once it's down.
So the water go all the way off the end to the north
Yes,
and get engineered for that purpose?
yep,
It ain't gonna jump into the Amundsen lot right there. off
No.
the corner?
no,
There's no catch basin there for storm?
no.
Bill, correct me if I'm right, Jeff, if I'm wrong, but Jeff Wolfen's stance was this is bond eligible. It's just if it runs over,
Right.
it wasn't included in the project, so we would have to pay it then.
So is this our property?
Um,
Community alleyway or?
It is technically, we have half the alleyway to the west, and then Haley's and Paul own the part of the alleyway to the east. However, the county has probably 95% of the traffic on that alleyway.
Can I ask a question?
Sure.
Is all that stuff gonna be curbed down there, just part of it, or? I guess I assumed they were gonna put curbs in everywhere.
You got a surmountable, is that a drive?
Yeah, it's a drive over curb.
On the east side will be driving
On
over,
the-
and then
yeah.
there'll be a backside of curb on the west side. And then the
Yes.
drainage and everything like that.
Yep, and then everything will funnel down.
And then you'll get a better transition from that road down to that, around the corner.
Yeah.
Because it's kind of a bump.
Well, I just figured the curbs would take care of any water runoff issues.
Yeah, right now there is none.
There isn't any.
And what's there is actually just sunk, and every time you get a lot of water standing there, then it busts up, and then it just
Always
keeps
the
eroding
edge.
the edges.
Into the blacktops.
Yep.
Breaks up.
Are they putting that fabric under there too?
I would imagine so, yes.
So I got a question, this,
Yes, sir.
right where we would turn west into our parking lot. If that shows drive over, so will that get to be like a speed bump?
That is
And
The,
is
the drive
water-
over is mostly from the Haley's area down towards Paul's area, so that'll be a drive over. And then everything on, that you would actually drive it like on the left-hand turn, that's just like what we have right now.
A swale.
To the
something?
north, yeah, a low, concrete valley, but it helps get everything down to the.
So it's not like a speed bump. it's just a
No,
valley.
no, no,
Everything in yellow is a drive.
That's in there now.
not a drive over, it's a
Oh,
combination.
there's a valley there though.
Yeah, right now there, you can see there's when you go down towards the storage shed, there is a valley sort of at an angle that runs towards the John Deere lot that sheets out from the parking lot down that way. It'd be like that. They're gonna have to redo that one and then put one across that leads into the courthouse parking lot because that really erodes away as well.
So that section is different than the east section?
Right,
between
the east
Haley?
section has the drive over
Yeah.
curb.
It's still in yellow, but it would be
Yeah,
different.
but that's all the concrete. Yeah.
So since is a dollar amount, do we need to then receive an alternate quote on it? No, that's what the. We know that, Chad?
So,
If it's over a certain dollar amount, do we need to receive an alternate quote?
Depends on, there's different thresholds. You know, there's a bidding law that if it's over X dollars, you actually have to have bids or you have to have quotes or part of the procurement policy.
So I guess building committee and Jeff, are we looking for a decision today to move forward with the quoting process and then subsequently come back and approve the project, or what do you recommend, Bill and Troy?
I guess the way I viewed it is it's a change to the project, because Joe Riley already has the contract to do
Oh, sure.
the pavement down by the building and then around to the Sally Port, so it's in addition to, I guess that's the way I viewed it. I'm not a lawyer, I don't know.
So in that respect, then you probably wouldn't need to go through what thought on that, Chad? If it's an addition or a change order?
If it's a change order of the project, I mean, it's only being paid for it. Standalone project there.
Right.
And
Kind of where I'm at.
that's where yesterday at the LEC meeting, we talked about, Jeff was fine with it coming out of the bond proceeds, it's in addition to, so if there's an overage, it comes back here.
But you did budget what, 30,000?
Yeah,
So he's got that portion of it.
because I knew we were gonna have to fix that alleyway after this project, and so, I added 30,000 to my line item budget for building repairs for this fiscal year.
So in that respect, then, it wouldn't need, I guess another question, and I'm not saying we should or shouldn't, but if it is a shared alley, or should we approach the other east parties? And if we don't, are we setting precedents for the future that we just proceed and do it on our own? What's your thoughts on that, committee?
Well, we certainly can. My thought is gonna be that we set a precedent that we're allowing parking in that alley. And that's only gonna get worse as there's more trade individuals showing up. We certainly can ask.
I think we'd have to revisit, our assessment policy and if we even have one for, projects like that.
Well, we won't,
Then I don't believe we do, see, so.
that wouldn't fall under our assessment. We won't have.
I don't know that I'm looking for a correct answer. I've just said it's an idea and I think we should address it because we get. And I don't know that ever a situation like this may come up in the future, but it seems as like this stuff comes around. Thought on it, Jeff?
Well, like I said, in theory, we own half of the alley, they own half of the alley, the other two parcels there. But like I said, we have 95% of the traffic through that place. It's our garbage truck that comes down there, it's our, we just have a lot of the traffic is us.
Including the snowballing.
So. I guess with that, we can have discussion if someone wants to make a motion to make that an addition to the law enforcement, to the existing contract that Riley's have with the law enforcement center. And to pay them out of the bond proceeds.
I believe that
would be the
yes.
motion that if there's passion for that,
So move.
there's second.
Second.
So one more time, since it can fall into that in addition, do we feel we do not need an alternate quote?
That's my feelings on it, but like I said before, I'm not a lawyer. It's just a continuation. Yeah, right.
Correct, and it would be hard to. So then I would, you see on the drawing where what we need, so then we have to make sure that if Joe Riley didn't get it. Where's that dividing line? How are we gonna divide it off and how are we gonna balance the
Break it
two
down.
construction companies for doing the asphalt?
Right.
That's,
We're gonna have to get Joe in there first. And then as soon as they're done, bring in the other outfit to continue it up to,
If you look at what's included here, there's nothing about mobilization, which will add 25% at least. Right.
That's a perfect explanation. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Carried. Thank you.
Thank
Building
you.
Committee. 9:15, you did perfect. We got environmental services, Reed.
Morning, guys.
Morning.
Greg was gonna be here, but he had some stuff show up early this morning, so he's fighting his own stuff this morning. So he asked if I could come talk to you guys about a truck. Last time we were here, we came and said, hey, we're gonna kind of look out for trucks, because for the last, couple of decades, Greg's rolled without a truck. And now with Greg, taking on solid waste, expanding the office, vehicle is kind of necessary for, three of us to drive, so. We originally were just gonna go out and try and find one and order one, but the order process is 6 to 8 months to get one. And they ended up having a truck on the lot there at Valley Ford Morris, which is where the sheriff's department and highway has purchased the last couple of them. So it actually worked out really good, and if we go through, I think it's today or tomorrow, they have pretty good $4,000 or $5,000 and some rebates that Ford's given out to try and get rid of the 23s. So it's new with like 12 miles, and I put on over half of them when Greg and I drove it out, so. Brand new truck for a pretty good price. Chad did send you guys the purchase agreement that I had him drive, just so we could get an exact dollar amount. It'll come out to 53,447.62, so just about 54,000. And Greg has a line item in his budget for, I think, about 60, so he's under that a little bit. So what I'm looking for from you guys is a motion to approve the purchase of that vehicle. And the hope would be to then, since I'm in Morris tomorrow anyways, to go in and sign papers and pick up and all that stuff tomorrow, so that it's done with and away we go. That is the hope.
Is there a motion to accept Reed and Greg's recommendation?
So move. Second.
Additional discussion?
Is that truck gonna be sitting in Elmo Lake then?
Yep, it'll be here in town. It'll be here or up there at the courthouse, or it'll be pretty easy to park it. There's plenty of parking, whatever, so.
All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Sounds like you get a new truck.
Thanks,
you.
guys. That's all I got.
Thank
Be sure,
you.
even if you're there tomorrow, be sure to let them know so it doesn't disappear.
Yeah, that's-
Get sold.
I'm gonna go talk to him right now as soon as I get out of here. So, perfect, thanks, guys.
So, Reed.
Yeah.
We got 12 minutes.
Yeah, I'm
So,
speedy.
you know what happens when we get 12 extra time, that one of the staff gets an opportunity you're kind of in a new, looking at some new responsibilities and some of the things that within your department. I know we met, the committee the other day, with solid waste and recycling. Why don't you give us a little bit update on how you're doing and how the department's doing and
So, yeah, I suppose last week we took and had a little solid waste deal, cause at the last board meeting, Pope Douglas came and presented their big, ask of the counties, and thankfully our portion is quite small compared to some of the other counties. So you guys said, yep, let's move forward with it. So at the subcommittee, we were like, well, how do we wanna pay one lump sum? Do you wanna take and do a set of payments over 5 years, which I think is how the larger counties are gonna go, is probably that 5-year route. But what Greg and Troy had mentioned is maybe we should reach out and see if we pay a lump sum, if we could get less money. Cause then they don't have to bond for that amount and kind of make things a little easier. So I think Greg was reaching out this morning. He was gonna reach out this morning. He'll reach out probably tomorrow and get an answer on that, but. And then they talked about expanding the committee a little, include some townships who have, pretty good routes like out by Pelican and Pomdy. And then probably bring in some city people too, so that when we make any, changes for solid waste, which it's a pretty well run machine right now, it goes without a whole lot of input from us, which is great, but it's also taking a lot of our time to learn all that. 'Cause for Greg and I, that is a brand new monster to go after, but it's very similar run to other programs, so.
So, tell us how expanding the committee fits into your vision.
It would be nice to have some more input from others, say, because I know organics and recyclable stuff has taken off, so we don't want to go making our own decisions in silos. We want to have input from the community, so they can say, hey, yeah, that's a good idea, or I don't think that's gonna work for us because of whatever reason, or yep, it'll work for us because of these reasons, or. And it kind of present kind of like a unified front versus everybody in their own little deal doing their own thing.
Is there anything that we as a board can do, or that we should offer some support or ideas? You got anything that you'd like to ask of us, or?
I don't think so. You guys got a new truck and a new GPS. I don't know if I should ask for much more. I've been pretty lucky lately, so I better go away for a little while. Better not ask for too much more.
Good point.
Cause you never know, if you ask for it, you might just get it. So I gotta, be a little careful there.
Are you enjoying the changes?
Yeah, it's been good. It's nice to be here full time versus bouncing between the two. Between the two is nice and a good experience, but being able to focus every day on the same, 5 topics instead of 10 topics has
Yeah.
been good.
Good.
Yeah.
Okay, that's all I can squeeze out of you, unless you want to add some more. Anyone else have
I
something?
do,
Really?
got any sewer systems going in the county?
Not yet. Well, they put in some holding tanks, but nothing in ground quite yet because of the last little snow and frost kind of screwed a lot of stuff, which tapped the brakes on kind of some of that. But I have a feeling next week, if 60's coming, it's gonna get crazy again, which is good. So, and Greg did have interviews yesterday to try and fill his other one. So we got 4 applicants. So it looks like he'll probably fill that later this week, and then we'll have somebody come on board and really get going with those.
Those low interest loans still available?
I believe through the district has some, through the soil and water, but
Right.
I don't think a lot of people take advantage of them, but they're there if they need
You
them.
never know. Might start in,
Right, yeah,
depending on,
never know.
I'm done.
Any other questions for Reed? Thank you for the impromptu
Yeah, no
questions.
problem.
You did well. So actually, you're on at 9:30, but guess what? You got 8 minutes. Why don't you come forward and give us a little update from Human Resources? The staff is getting used to me doing this, so I don't know if they come prepared or not. Good morning.
Good morning. Update from HR, hiring. We're hiring. Currently, like Reed said, we interviewed for the tech position yesterday. We are interviewing for deputy sheriff on Friday. Hoping to get maybe one more in that one interview. We have 3 applicants right now, so that's a good problem to have. And we are currently advertising for a highway accountant. Current highway accountant will be done tomorrow. So looking to fill that. We've actually had quite a few applicants for that one, so that's a positive thing. I didn't know, usually lately it's hard to get applicants, but for that one, it's been pretty good. So we'll be doing that. Yesterday I had a meeting with our broker who we go with our voluntary benefits, Integrity. And so he gave us an update of where we kind of sit with our dental vision and all of that. Sitting pretty good with all of those benefits. We have good participation. And so we're talking about kind of the future of open enrollment and some of the benefits we offer. Right now, we're locked into our rates for a couple more years, so we don't have to look at that right now, which is a good thing. So that was a good meeting, just to kind of get an overview of where we sit on that. And the strategic planning committee has been meeting. We'll be meeting with department head, we have a department head meeting tomorrow, so we'll be discussing that. Yeah, so right now, just busy hiring and trying to get positions filled, has been the main priority, so.
Do you feel there's anything that we can do or help you with, or from a board standpoint,
Get us more deputies.
yeah, more deputy, anybody got a deputy in your back?
Are they too short?
We're too short. We have our deputy that was on deployment coming back next week, I believe. So then so right now we're down 3, but because he's on deployment, so next week we'll be just down 2. And we have, 3 applicants that will be hopefully interviewing. They're not graduated yet, but we're just trying to get them in.
So are you looking for 2 then, or?
2.
Are we still doing the part-time thing, kind of looking for?
We are not, we haven't filled a part-time position in quite a few years.
Right.
The cadet position, right now is kind of at a standstill. We didn't hire for that position, as of yet. So that's kind of.
So we've been running 3 short
Yes.
for probably how long?
So our deputy went last fall, like last November, but we've been too short for quite a while.
Probably, it's going up 2 years,
Yeah.
year and a half anyway.
Yeah. So, but it's a problem everyone, I think, is having. Every county I talk to, HR departments, they're struggling, or if they're in the same situation where they steal bigger counties steal from us.
They're not even hiding.
No, they're not. They're not.
Anybody have questions for Ashley from HR? Yes,
How many applicants for the accountant did you say, Ashley?
I haven't counted yet, but it's good. So,
so we have,
yes,
Ashley, how about highways, is it a tech, is that what you're short there?
engineered tech, that one we're struggling with. We can't seem to get an applicant for that. I mean, that's a unique position, right? That you have experience with. That one we can't seem to, and I've been trying to recruit online. Indeed has been really good for us for advertising, and there's no one, I can't find anybody. So I think that position is more of like a hearsay. If people know somebody, so if you know of anybody, I would encourage.
But they gotta have some experience, I suppose.
I think, Aaron, maybe you could probably attest to this one. I mean, I think it's a position we can train for. I don't know if we're gonna find someone that has direct experience doing it,
I mean,
but.
you can't be super picky at this point. Either you hire someone that went to school for some sort of engineering field and they can just pick up pieces and train them in a long process, and I'm still learning, but ultimately, if we get some applicants that are even somewhat appealing, we'll have to hire them. Because we're either gonna pay them or we're gonna pay for, an engineering tech out of a private engineering firm, which is, we're gonna pay that whole salary for the one project.
And that's been open since Ruben went back to maintenance, right?
Mhm.
Last fall.
So if you know of anybody, send them my way.
okay, we are 2 minutes before your time, but why don't we move into your presentation, and that's on the agenda.
All right, so I have 2 memorandum of agreements. The first one is, they're both for Teamsters, but the first one is they have accepted the cafeteria, the employer contribution offer, to align with everybody else. So this is the last contract, and then everyone will be on the same amounts. So the memorandum is just to, the same, the 900 for single, 1,500 for family, 850 for employees that were hired before January 1, they would get 850 for waiving coverage. The new employees after January 1 would not receive cash in lieu. Employees hired before January 1, 2024 would be eligible for cash in lieu even if they make a change. And then single employees on an HSA plan, employer would contribute $50 a month, and employees on a family HSA, the employer would contribute $100 a month to an HSA account. And then this would sunset in December for renegotiations, December 31st, 2025. So this is to align with everybody else, and they've agreed to it, so.
I will make that motion for that memorandum of agreement. You wanna make sure Chad gets what information he needs.
Yep.
You listed a lot of stuff there that.
Yeah, yep.
We have a motion to that. Do we have a second?
Second.
Additional discussion? All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Carried.
All right, the next one is, so with the environmental services technician position, it's a union position, so we had to go through the process of getting this position to a union. And Teamsters was the appropriate union group, and so I talked to Marka at Teamsters, and we created the MOA, which then puts the environmental services technician a member of the Teamsters bargaining group. So it's an MOA, putting them under that group.
It's just putting that job. in.
Putting that job and classification under Teamsters, yep.
If that's your recommendation, is there a motion to accept that?
So moved.
Second.
Okay. Any other discussion? All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Carried.
All right, the last thing I have is a highway request, so Aaron, who's in the back, he is gonna be a track coach. And I don't know if you wanna come up here, Aaron.
Sure, I can.
And so his request, and personnel committee supports this, obviously, community involvement is important, and so he is, obviously gonna be very involved with track, explain some things, but for track meets, for meetings, but he's looking to, adjust his time, so he's still working his hours. If it's coming in earlier, if it's staying late, where he doesn't have track meets or practice, things like that to make up his time.
Yeah, so practice starts at 3:30, and I'll be going to every practice. So I just come in a little earlier. And then if there's meets, depending on where the meet is, I'll come in early to make up my time, or if I have to leave early, I'll make up my time on Friday. So that works for me because I'm non-union, so I can just shift my hours around, but I'd still be getting my full hours.
And you punch in and out down there, correct?
And it looks like it's started, so now through end of May.
Yep.
And then we'd be back to regular hours.
And it should work out for construction and stuff, but if construction were to start early, obviously I would focus on my job. But
And as the personnel committee, there was no issues with this, but we thought we would let the board know, at least you have a understanding or aware of the things. So I don't know if you want to make an emotion or not, but we wanted to address
I got a
it.
question. What's your vision for the track team?
well, there's one gal, she's really close to breaking the school record for the 100. So I'm hoping I can help her with that. We haven't had a meet yet. Today is our first meet, because last week got canceled, but I don't know. I gotta see, gotta watch. I'll be a sprinter and jumping coach, so.
So track is not different than the long distance part, or cross country.
Yeah, but there is long distance in track.
Okay, but
So there's a 400, an 800, a 1600, and a 3200. 3200 is 2 miles, 1600 is a mile. So, yeah. Our distance team is normally pretty good, so
And time frame is what, 3 months, 2.5, 3 months, something like that?
end of May.
End of May.
Okay. I'll make that motion, Mr. Chair, as a recommendation from the highway committee.
I'll second. And Matt is supportive of this, and personnel committee said we don't have a alternative work policy. That's why we needed to bring it here.
well, I think supporting community involvement in a lot of areas, and this would be an area, so.
Yeah.
I guess I commend you for your interest and if we can make it work. So any other discussion? All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Carried.
Thanks, guys.
Good luck on the track team.
That's all I got.
And now we got highway department up next,
Oh, you
so you get there. But we're a little early. Guess what happens then, Aaron?
Really? Ask away.
So you give us your, how it's going and your, a little bit of your vision and
I don't know. I keep all you guys pretty updated, I feel like. You are at that ditch meeting last week, so you know what happened there. I don't know, Bill, if you mentioned, but that CASA 5 project in Hoffman got accepted for the LRIP funds. So,
So tell me what, I mean, they approved the application or it
Yeah.
got approved?
It's done. You got the money.
I think the money is allocated.
I was gonna bring it up at committee reports, but it's good you did.
why don't you dovetail with them and let's talk.
Well, I was gonna have,
I think
I
then-
looked at it already, so I read.
Okay,
Or you,
Huh?
did you bring a copy?
No.
Here,
So the LRIP funded
1.4 million bucks.
Yep.
That Grant County received.
for construction in.
I don't remember. I don't have that. I can't remember what
It
the,
won't be this year though.
no. 1.434 million.
So talk a little bit, because I know we have some people that potentially could haul grain to that grain outlet, how that would affect that crossing on the south end there towards the grain bins
Well,
out on.
I mean, there's a lot of, we're obviously gonna hire an engineering firm,
Yeah.
and there's gonna be always flow of traffic through that. There has to be, so just like on County Road 10, you know, we'd always have it going one way up to surcharge 2, and then same thing the
No,
other
no, I
way.
was saying we plan on correcting that angle and making it a safer crossing. That's part of this project.
I think so, if I remember. right.
Obviously, railroad.
Yeah.
Making that, in that south intersection, you mean?
Yeah, yes.
I think that will be more perpendicular to,
Kind of onto the township road that goes out to the big pit.
yeah, so we're gonna, yeah, that township road will pull out north into the field more to make that perpendicular to County Road 5. And then County Road 5, I believe, will be realigned a little bit to make it more perpendicular to TH 55.
Yeah,
So if that's, I'm going off of memory, but
sure.
yeah.
Okay,
And any infrastructure underneath, it'll give the city time to plan something if they were gonna do any kind of storm sewer or any of that. You know, the storm sewer is us, I think it's County Road, but the water and sewer is theirs.
And I'm
There's a
sure,
message from Andy out there. Well done, Aaron Meyer. This is important for the community and thank you for your efforts. Thanks for supporting the community.
thanks, Mandy.
I know one thing, cause I know Matt mentioned when we started, they started this, they needed some community involvement or letters supporting, and I think they got like 12 or 15 of, I mean, it was like unheard of that many people reached out in the process.
And Matt would have a better knowledge of like what to
Yeah.
do with the city, and
Yeah,
I haven't been very involved in it, so.
so there was a lot of people that stepped up and voiced their support, which is really important, and so. Any other things that, from your spot?
I got a two-week bridge training, inspection training course. In 2 weeks, I'll be down in the cities,
Okay.
Shoreview for 2 weeks doing a training. That'll be fun, get to stay in the cities for 2
Did you
weeks.
say in 2 weeks or for 2 weeks?
In 2 weeks, for 2 weeks.
Oh, it is,
Mhm.
really?
Yeah.
Pretty intensive then.
Yeah, that's eight to 4 every day, and then I gotta pass a test at the end. So, and I gotta do a couple prerequisite classes before I go down there next week.
So will that permit you then to, at a level that's different than be able to do,
Nope, so once I have the training done, you need to have, I don't remember, it's 3 or 5 years of bridge inspection, training on the job training, basically. And I've done it
kind of a little bit in the fall, these past couple years, but I still need more on the job training in order to be a, I guess you call it licensed bridge inspector.
Okay.
And then I would be able to take on that role.
Sure.
So still.
And
a
then
few
there's always
years.
recertification stuff that you gotta continue in education to keep that.
Yep, and that's with any of my certifications I have, so.
Right.
Yeah, but that's a good course. The state is actually paying for it all except for my hotel and food and stuff, so, and it's like several $1,000 course.
Wow. Okay, we're close enough. At 9:40, you got on the agenda for ATV park resolution.
Okay, so yeah, Matt just asked me to bring this to the board. From what I understand, there's some grant money left over from the ATV park whenever it was done. And we're just trying to get the rest of that money and use it for that ATV park. So I don't know if you guys read this or not, but it's just a resolution. So just need a motion.
So do we need to know a number for for the motion, Chad, or will you assign that, or?
That resolution number would be 24-0401,
Do you want me to fill this out or you got it, Chad?
either way,
I can do it. What was the number? Sorry.
24-0401.
Okay,
Okay, is there a motion to approve the all-terrain vehicle park funding resolution? Yeah.
Question, Kenny, on that park, is that the ATV park out there in Delaware?
Yes,
When Grinnell was on the board, when, John Weiss's land, borders that, and the deer, every spring, there's always little deer, fawns caught in the fence. And when I talked to Grinnell when he was on the board, I think a lot of that would be taken care of if on the south end, on both corners, east and west corner, the portion of that fence was taken down 8-10 feet, because that's where the trails always go. And that's where you catch these fawns. They're getting caught in the fence, and they're dying. And he said, all we need to do is open up 8-10 feet there to do that. That's never been done. You're talking about the park, I thought, I just want to bring that up. That should be pretty easy to do, and it shouldn't affect anything.
Yeah, that fence isn't necessary at all.
Well, I'm just saying that that's where the trails go, and if that's opened up 8-10 feet each side, I think that would,
on the south and the west side?
on the south end, on both east and west corners.
So would this be a line fence or our fence or a shared?
I'm just saying, open up 10-12 feet on the corner.
No, what I'm saying is, I mean, if
It's
we
that
agree to that,
original
can,
cyclone fencing that one bordered the whole
Right.
thing.
right.
It's not necessary.
No, it was grant dollars that put the fence up to establish all that. But a number of years ago.
I get my question, Aaron, would be, do we need, if we're gonna go out there and open it up, it's a good idea, I think. Do we need to address it with the landowner?
Just, if it's on our property, then it really wouldn't matter, just be
So-
sending our guys out there, and if Pat wants them to, and cut it down.
So we could,
I'll bring it up with Pat and I'll look at where our property line is and. we're good to go.
I would, if you're gonna go down that route of moving fence, I would make sure we have that sign that outside of this fence is private property and you are not to go out there or you'll lose the whole thing.
Right, yep, no, I'll talk to Matt.
So that's what the
Pat.
fence is there for, right? Is to keep them inside of that area. You start taking fence down.
Right,
That fence was original before they even made the park. That fence was there.
Yeah, it was a Delaware dump way back when,
Oh,
where they haul concrete, and stuff.
do we have thank you for that input. Do you have a motion for this resolution?
I'll make that motion, Mr. Chair, for the resolution.
Second.
Or whatever that was.
Second.
Additional discussion? All fair to say aye?
I,
Opposed? Carried. So do we have more resolutions or is that the only one?
that's that one, and then I got, okay,
The Low Plains Drifter and the other one, you got them too, or is that a different one?
that's something,
That's different, okay. Well, so then. It's 9:43. I think we're close enough. We'd be able to go into the, Way to Sue. Ditch Authority transfer discussion. We do have some guests in the room. Thank you. guess I'll let, if someone from Boyd Sioux wants to address us, that's fine, otherwise I'll let Aaron start and kind of bring us to where we need to go, or whatever. Let's see, this weekend.
Yeah, I think everyone was at that meeting last week that's here, so. Talking with Justin and Lucas Croker, I guess their direction was if the board wants to do this and their Boyd Sioux is in agreement, that we would set a hearing, a public hearing date for the official transfer of all Grant County ditches within the Boyd Sioux watershed to the Boyd Sioux watershed district. And what Justin had said is to set the hearing date for the first meeting in May or later. So I guess that's really all I got, unless you want me to give a recap of that meeting, but everyone was there, so.
My comment, don't do it when spring work is, do it when it's done. That's the first thing you're gonna hear.
I can speak for the
Sure.
Boys to Sioux. Boys to Sioux works for everybody in the watershed, whether we have your ditches or not, because we're all in this together. Your water all runs into the red, and we're all responsible for that. So we really work hard to take care of it and clean that water up. We're gonna do whatever the people of Grant County want to do with their ditches. If they wanna move them to the Boys to Sioux, you bet we'll take good care of them. If they don't, we're still gonna do as much as we can to help. That's what we do, that's our job. But that's all we do at the Boys to Sioux is manage water. That's our main job, that's all we do. And we can really help take care of people that way. Also, because we are an involved watershed board, we really work hard to try to get grant monies and things like that. So if we can work clean water components into any ditch cleanouts or anything like that, then we're able to help the taxpayer pay for that by bringing in grants. And because that's all we do, we have people that are constantly looking into that, constantly applying for funds and stuff. So that way we can maybe help the landowner just a little bit more, simply because we have the time to really devote to that. But we want to be able to do whatever your people want. That's who we work for. We work for the people of the whole watershed.
And it's not like you're gonna be turning on or off a valve. We're already dealing with the water. It's just a lot more hoops we have to jump through the way it is now.
I got a question for somebody. Orland brought up something at the meeting in Herman about some of the engineering costs. Would the anticipated engineering costs be any different if we were running the project or Boyd Sioux would be?
No.
No. I'm gonna to appoint more engineering if a repair project were to come to me within the Boyd Sioux.
So
I'll be real honest with you. The Boys to Sioux, when we went looking for a hydraulic engineer, we were very fussy with who we picked. We wanted to make sure that whatever engineer we had that came to us and applied worked for the people, not the engineering firm first. You know, engineers have to make money for their firm, but we wanted somebody that worked from the heart, that really put the needs of the people first. And so more engineering came to us, highly recommended for that very reason. And so we feel pretty safe and secure with them doing that. I'll tell you what, the Boys to Sioux board, if we ever have engineers that are put it mild, screwing over the people, we will be looking for new engineers. But I don't think we'll ever have to do that with more.
We've already done it once.
We have.
Now, it's my understanding that more engineering asked for and got a $20 an hour raise this year. Is that correct? Across the board.
I haven't heard that yet, have you,
No.
boys?
That was our past engineers did that to us.
You know, everybody's cost of living goes up. And so theirs doesn't go up any faster than anybody else's, to be honest with you.
Was it that much?
But-
Was it?
But it, you know, when you compare it to other engineers, that's the general going rate. We all are feeling the cost. of
That
living.
was approved at the last meeting. And you show me, we got inflation, we got everything else.
Yeah.
You'd go and try and find an engineering firm. And he's making reference to it here, right here at this board meeting, how hard it is to find people that have specialties in there. And our engineer, Chad, I talked to him one day, and I said, what the hell is going on? You can't find, well, to be a certified engineer now in North Dakota, you have to have a college degree plus 3 years of experience to even get certified. That's 7 years of schooling. That's like going to being a doctor. And he said it all started 20 years ago. No, we don't need civil technicians and all that there. Well, here's the proof of that right here, what he's saying.
Yeah.
Go find somebody that knows how to do that anymore. And one thing that we need to do, you gotta get these young kids when they're still in high school, working out here, doing some of this stuff so they get exposed to it. That's what's so damn wrong with the society right now. Oh, we can't hire them till they're 18 or bullshit.
So I got a
I'm on
question.
the Red Board, and being on the Red River Board, I noticed that there's all kinds of engineers that come to those meetings and work for the other watersheds. And we talk amongst each other, and their costs are basically about the same as what Moore Engineering is. I mean, they're not out of line. That's just, everything costs in life.
Mr. Chair, if I may, Grant County's not gonna get a cheaper price for an engineer than the Boise to Sioux Board is. That, I mean, if it went up $20 an hour for them, it's gonna go up at least 20 for us, if not 30.
It's a competitive market, just like contracting. You gotta be able to, they're gonna bid on a project, on a bigger scaled project, just like any other construction contractor. So they gotta be competitive.
So I got a question. Oh, go ahead.
I'm just here to make a comment. Boone Carlson, landowner, up by North Ottawa, Parliament, and Township Board. I just want to say I'm in favor of this. I've worked really closely with the watershed versus on township issues and on personal land issues. And I personally never had a problem with them. During flood situations, I've called, I share with the watershed what's going on out there. Troy's very good about getting back in, addressing the issue. And getting help getting equipment in place to help maybe mitigate some of the flooding issues, overland flooding. I've worked with them on ditch cleanings, tiling projects, lots of other things, and I've had very good response from the watershed, and I feel they take the landowners and the community's interest at heart, and they want to do the best thing they can to help everybody, so. And of course, the challenge of water is there's always somebody downhill.
Yeah.
Well, and that's just my opinion, that's what I came here for. I just wanted to let you guys know that my personal experience with the watershed has been very good and seamless when there's issues, so.
Okay.
Thank you for letting me talk.
Yeah,
I've been there when there's been 2 different engineering firms. The best thing that ever happened to that watershed was bringing Troy Fridgen on, who was a technician in Wilton County for 20-some years, who knew how to do ditch cleanouts and all that there.
Surveying.
And otherwise, before that, when we did a ditch clean out, the engineering firm was down there sitting there at $100 an hour or whatever it was. Troy's sitting there doing it for his salary. And he does a hell of a lot better job than any engineering firm I ever seen out there, because he does it all the time. There, you're saving your engineering expense right there, way many times over.
so I got a question for the group. So if you look from a vision standpoint and what your desired outcome may want to be, and then you backed up and said, what processes should we go through to reach this desired vision and outcome? Do we think
Well,
that
I
this
think
route is the
first
best way
one
to
is-
go?
Yeah, the first one is the landowner. There was a lot of landowner opposition to the Bois de Sioux at one time. And million-dollar lawsuits or whatever it was at all that time. And 90% of that was misinformation. You know, I mean, not saying things were done legitimately and all that, but most of it was just plain misinformation. And to clean that up took, I don't know how many years. So you got some trust back in the board again. And, you know, I, as a landowner, when you look at a ditch situation, okay, I look at you five being county commissioners own a ditch over there, and one of them wants to clean and four other ones don't. Well, our job is to get you all together to make a consensus about what's best for the whole group. That's the way you do it.
That's the hardest part.
Yeah.
Yes, Bill.
And another thing I've noticed with the watershed, to the point, the regime has changed there over the last 20 years. I remember the old regime, it wasn't as smooth.
Yeah.
What I've seen happen since the new board members gotten in, Troy's there, is actually care and maintenance of these ditches that get done. I mean, they go out and look at them, when these little trees start coming up,
Yep.
they take care of them.
Yep.
They're spraying for weeds. If there's a little clean out they gotta do, they'll put it in the budget and they'll clean it out. It's not this major project, like we always say, it's like, God, we have to get this ditch cleaned out. Well, the old one, they would never touch a ditch. Well, now they come out and they'll do a quarter mile just to get rid of the silt. And, and believe me, we're on the downhill, I'm on the downhill end of a lot of water. And so I see a lot, everybody's water comes by me because it goes by my place into the impoundment. And, I just see it firsthand. And, I just think they do a great job. And I think the county ditches you guys have now are gonna be better maintained than they are right now with the watershed taking over the management of that.
So I guess you talked about vision. If I could put myself in a landowner's shoes, you know, these ditches have been around for 100 years. They haven't been maintained like they need to be. They're in disrepair is the word you would use. So these landowners, they want their ditches to work. And if they want their ditches to work, they have to go through a repair or an improvement process. Now, if it goes through an improvement process, under state statute, it's going to the Bois de Sioux regardless of what's happening. Unless the repair or improvement falls through. So their vision, have ditches that work. And I just don't have the manpower to do that, period. So, I mean, to bring that vision to light would be, in my opinion, have the Bois de Sioux run.
Mr. Chair, I'm in favor of this because if you want to use an analogy, we have water experts, right? So plumbers, why would you hire a roofer to come and do your plumbing when you have plumbers? My one concern though is in a conversation last week that our ordinances do not allow alternative buffer practices. And Boise de Sioux does, I believe. So before I'm comfortable moving forward, we need to get that. However we get that remedied, that's gonna have to be remedied. We can't have alternative practices on one side of the county that our ordinance says you can't have, and then try to enforce.
I've been working on that all week.
Because we're multiple counties, we have to have one set. And we go by what the law says.
I'm not saying you don't have to. I'm saying we have an ordinance here that says we have to do this. And I'm not saying anybody's wrong. I'm saying we gotta get that resolved
And
before.
part of it is, when we got into the discussion, it's a guide, okay? Well, the hell is a guide? It's a rule. And there's a lot of misinterpretation there. Well, what is it? You know,
No,
I did
you're not.
discuss it with Randy
Boise de
Ferguson.
Sioux is not doing anything wrong. Our
No.
county ordinance
No, but
is
it
just
has
strict,
to be,
so we have to get that resolved.
the best thing to do is pay buffers and be done with it. As long as the landowner's getting something out of it. I've written letters to Washington.
I'm not sitting here saying I know what the answer is. I'm just saying, before we proceed, we need one.
No, that's, all right. I agree.
So,
Someone on Zoom wants to talk.
Messages.
you want,
Whenever you want to address those,
well, we could do it right now, if that's fine.
Darlene Nelson,
Mandy was just responding.
Charlie Nelson would like to speak.
Sure. Charlene, can you hear us?
Yes, we can hear and see you. Jim and I are here.
Go ahead.
We attended that meeting by Zoom last week. Can you hear us?
Yep.
Okay. We're in opposition of transferring any more ditches to Boyd Sioux. And I did forward the ditch project that's being worked on here now involving us, ditch 21. We've had great difficulties in getting information and getting answers. And so we ended up, we had to hire legal counsel. We had to hire an attorney. And once he took a look at it, he found that they were not following state statute. And the letter that we forwarded from our attorney addresses that. They did not follow proper procedures. And so in secret, the next month, without notice or publication, Boyd Sioux Board went ahead and voted on new orders and amended orders. And hopefully they'll proceed lawfully and take another look at this project. We've had other interactions with Boyd Sioux in the past. One with a ditching project a few years ago, and we had a staff person lie to us about what statute was. And then we were involved in the Ditch 15 lawsuit where they wrongfully, Boyd Sioux wrongfully tried to do a redetermination, and we won that lawsuit. So we've had 3 significant interactions in less than 10 years with Boyd Sioux, and none of them have gone well. This proceeding right now, this project right now with Ditch 21, we're already into it for over $16,000 in legal fees. And we're not the only ones that are opposed to this project and how it's been done. There are others that have hired legal counsel also. Another question that was brought up at the last, at the hearing in Herman last week, there was an individual that asked, if we get buyer's remorse and want to change our minds and take back our ditches from Boyd Sioux, is that possible? And someone answered, no, it's permanent. And so I did confirm that with our attorney. And he said that there is, in his words, there is no mechanism to allow for the taking back of our management of our ditches. So if they were to be transferred and then we're not happy, we're stuck forever until the laws change. What we would like, what Jim and I would like, is for other alternatives to be looked at. If our county system is not working the way it is now, we'd like to have some other options considered. Like, how does Stevens County do this? How are other counties doing this? And maybe there's another option where we could work out a partnership like we do with other services, with public health services or highway departments. We've done partnerships with other counties before, but we'd like to see some other options looked at before we make a permanent transition and transfer our water rights to someone actually outside of this county. And because we haven't had good experience with how things have been handled. I don't know if anyone has questions. I don't want to get into the weeds and details. We don't have time and this isn't the place to do that. But if anyone has questions, everyone I know is, everyone it looks like has been in favor of this transition, but I felt we needed to speak up because we have a different perspective. We've had a different experience. And I think people need to know that.
Okay, thank you. Was there any more comments on it or with that? Thank you. Is there other?
Any more in the chat? They don't want to know.
Can I respond to her?
Sure.
We are not a separate entity. The commissioners appoint us. If they don't like what we're doing, they can unappoint us real easy. We're part of Grant County. Everybody's under this assumption that we're some separate organization, and we're not.
Actually, Boyd Sioux is, you have separate bylaws. You are a
We are-
separate governmental entity.
The county commissioners appoint us, and the county commissioners will take us away if we do a bad job.
Absolutely.
We are under Grant County authority.
Those two are, I'm under Stevens County authority, and you better believe if I don't do my job, Stevens County Board will remove me.
So you're not selling yourself to the devil, we're taking care of it from a different branch of the county.
And as far as ditch 21 goes, that has not been, it's not a cut and dry deal, guys. We still are meeting with landowners, trying to come to a consensus that works for all the landowners.
Exactly what John was talking about, getting people together.
We're, you know,
We've got a division out there.
But so correct me if I'm wrong, since they've secured counsel and there is processes going on from a legal standpoint, I don't know that we can necessarily weigh in on that, or that we should. Would that be accurate, Aaron?
yeah, that's.
So
a policy.
to me, we have a couple things. One would be the concern if we have a public hearing during soybean planting time,
Right.
hopefully the corn's planted by then. And the second of all was Troy's concern about the buffer difference. And so let's talk about the buffer deal first. Where do we go with that, Aaron? Do you have an idea?
That goes to our buffer committee to work out with Boise to Sioux on, I mean, we've gotta remedy the two differences.
No, I
don't
know, I
know.
agree. And the first meeting we've had with a town, or with a county was this one we had here. We've gotta go to Wilkin County, we gotta go to Traverse County, and anybody else who's involved in that there. And we gotta go to their soil and water people and ask them, what's your, what do you do, or what's your legal way of doing things? And right now, they're all different. And so that's the issue that and I agree, it's gotta get ironed out. I have no problems there at all. But, and yes, that's why we gotta have these discussions, but if nobody's talking, nothing happens either.
I would recommend we start that process of ironing out the buffer difference. And if we come back here the first meeting in May and say, hey, you know what, we look like we've got something, then we would set a hearing, but until we have something better. Plus, we're not, I mean, by 1st of May, we're gonna know when the crop is hopefully in.
Troy,
Right now, we don't have any idea.
you said Grant County can't have alternative practices.
According to our ordinances,
I've got it already. I've got inverted slopes. I went through the process. My ditch is alternative practice. Mine is too.
The issue is what our soil and water says is an alternative practice and what Boise Sioux would consider. an alternative
Right.
practice. That is the dispute.
And it's not only this county, we've got other counties that, okay, what's your, we haven't had those meetings yet, we have some preliminary with some staff. But we have to have those meetings with those other counties, so we get, so we know what we're talking about.
It would be really helpful if all of our farmers just farm to the county line and quit. But farmers have a tendency to farm across county lines, and some of them farm in all three of the counties, that we're trying to get on the same page on how the farmers need to deal with the buffers. And so it just kind of puts us between a rock and a hard spot. So we're back to that consensus thing, trying to get everybody to come up with something that works well for everybody so that we can move forward. And so that's the problem. When Mr. Farmer gets up to the farm and he's got the field planted on the Grant County side and the field planted over on the Traverse County side, he's running into trouble because the ditch, the buffer on this side, the ditch has to be like this, but the buffer on the other side has to be something different.
So
And they're having a hard time. with
And
it.
a lot of these ditches, when they clean them out, the spoils, they're using that as an inverted, so then the water stays in the ditch versus overland flooding. A lot of times
That's why we've cited all these side inlets and
Right,
stuff.
right.
And a lot of that's paid for with sales tax dollars.
that model, you know what I mean, doesn't actually, fit in different counties, you know what I mean?
Well,
That's the
and
way I see
the
it.
thing is that if we can get these ditches and we can use that soil and make that little berm and have the side inlets and clean that water up,
Right,
I can get you grant money. I can get the landowners money to help repair that ditch. Because there's money out there for clean water. But you gotta be able to you gotta have them side inlets, you gotta have that.
And to your
little buffer.
point, Tori, a lot of this comes from the Board of Soil and Water Resources down in St. Paul. I mean, you think the people, landowners are frustrated? We get frustrated because we hear a different story
This
about
is-
every other month about what this is.
Right.
And you can't go to some
But
of
this
the board
isn't,
members.
this isn't
I've
Bowser,
tried.
this is Grant County's ordinance.
Yeah,
Being happy with practice at the Boise, that's where we've gotta get
That's
those two
right.
together. It's not, I mean, so I don't see it being an insurmountable hurdle. Let's just have that conversation.
Is the board in a hurry to do this? That's what it looks
No, we're not.
Got a hearing anyway. Supposed to be a 30-day comment period, and then we have a hearing after that, correct? Wasn't that the talk with, on the strategy?
So you won't be turning it over today?
No,
no,
It's that,
no, that won't happen.
no.
So,
I guess, I think there's gonna be an awful lot of surprised people when they start getting these bills. By my calculations, we're up to $85 an acre, on ditch 3, which already has been turned over. And, like I said, something with big acreage, there's gonna be a little sticker shock there, and I did mention this over at Herman. And, the other thing I was gonna comment on, was the alternative. You know, the alternative was put in by the state, not by the county. And I don't think you can take that away because the state is still over, the state was the one that allowed it. And Linda mentioned burns or whatever, that's the only way you can use an alternative, is if it's burned up so the water runs to the field, not to the ditch. Otherwise, you wouldn't qualify anyway.
It goes through side inlet, it still gets to the ditch.
Right.
It's just managed better, so it holds the sediment in the farm field.
so Aaron, I got a question. So, or Board of Sue, if we look at commencing the process, which is gonna involve public hearing and da. Can we set a projected date with the anticipation we're gonna address the buffer situation? Or do we need to commit ourselves to addressing that and bring this back? You know, second meeting in May or the first one in June, or what would you recommend there?
I guess we could just hold off setting the hearing date. We could come back the first meeting in May, have the same discussion, give an update on where we're at with the buffer ordinance stuff. I guess I don't even know who's supposed to have those conversations with, like, Lucas and where
Is
the,
that practical? You know, because I'm assuming, you know, John or Linda alluded to the fact that they want to meet with the SWCDs from other counties.
Right.
We've already started some of those meetings. Reason we're doing that is because Bowser has requested that the Boys to Sioux do that. And so our staff has already met with the staff at Traverse County. And I believe there's a meeting lined up for some of each of the Soil and Water Board and some of the Watershed Board to meet. And then I believe on the 8th, we have a meeting up in, Wilton County to meet with them to talk about that.
But to me, it doesn't make any sense to start talking about buffers until you run that background and know what your comfort level or threshold is.
so, yeah, I guess. Whatever you guys think, I don't know, cause I won't be having those conversations with the Soil and Water.
Well, and for us, we wanna work together to do what's right for the people. That's all we wanna do at the Boys to Sioux. I'll tell you what, it doesn't make a lick of difference to us whether these ditches come to us or not. We're still gonna keep on working and doing what we've always done. It's, you know, and sometimes maybe rather than to go through the hassle, it would probably be better off and easier for the Boys to Sioux if we didn't. But that is not what the watershed is for. The watershed is to work for the people and the watershed. We live in a massive watershed here. The whole Red River of the North is the watershed. And we are just a very small part of it. But we were blessed. We were blessed to the hilt. Because when the glaciers came, they pushed this very prime rich soil down here into the Red River Valley. It is the richest soil in the world. Only one other place that has soil as rich as what we have, Nile River Valley, and it's pretty darn narrow. The soil we have here someday will feed the world, but it won't feed the world if we don't take care of it, and we gotta have water in order to have crops. And we can't have too much water, because we can't have crops if we flood them out either. So we have to learn to manage this water. We have to learn how to hold this water in prime places, so it's there in the drought years, so we need it. So we can nurture this soil that the good Lord blessed us with. This is our responsibility. And when I moved here from Nebraska 50 years ago, and I came from a flooded area in where Iowa and Nebraska and South Dakota all come together, that Missouri River flooded every year. It wiped my dad right out of the farming business. So I know, I walked out of a flood in the middle of the night in cold water as a little kid. I still hear my sisters crying from that. So I know what it's like. So we need to figure out a way that we can all work together. And it doesn't matter if it's Grand County, Stevens County, Otter Tail County, we're all in it together. And the people in the Red River Valley here, and when I came here, there was no school one day in Herman, and they said, well, there's no school, but send your high school boys and your husbands to throw sandbags. We're going to throw sandbags. It was the spring. And they said, and mothers, we want you to pack lunches. And so my husband had hurt his back trying to move cattle when we moved to Minnesota, and my kid was only in kindergarten. And so, but I could pack lunches, and I took my lunches into school, and I'm standing in line, and here's all these mothers standing there with sack lunches to be put in these coolers. And I said, I'd never seen that in my life. And I said, oh my gosh, what a wonderful thing to do. Whoever thought of this idea? And this older lady in front of me, she turned around, she had these bag lunches in her hand, and I still see those bag lunches kind of shaking as she talked to me. And she said, honey, we've been doing this for over 100 years in the Red River Valley. We help each other. So get used to it. And that was the beginning.
So thank you for that. We had one with her hand up.
Yeah.
I'm kind of on the fence here, because I understand how important it is. Linda, you were saying your dad's farm was flooded and that nobody wants that. But on the other hand, I'm listening to Charlene, and I think it's really not fair that they had to spend $16,000 on a lawsuit. That's kind of scary. And to your point, $85 an acre. So what I'm not clear on is, how do we pay for it when it's under the county? Is it just the land that's affected by the ditch in that watershed?
So.
Is that on their tax? It comes on my taxes.
I can explain that a little
Okay.
bit.
Could I just add something quick?
Yep.
Everybody's talking about how much it costs, I've been sitting here arguing for the watershed, and I'm a supporter of them. My farm, we gave 45 acres of farmland 20 years ago for the North Ottawa Impoundment. 45 acres of farmland to help manage the water in this area. So if somebody's got something that's gonna cost more than that, I'll gladly listen. There's nobody else that gave that much farmland to the watershed for a project like that. And forever that's gone now from the family farm. But the waters are under control out there now. Cleaning ditches is not free. I've never seen a bad clean ditch. Every time I see a backhoe in a ditch, I'm not calling, I'm clapping my hand, because like, finally, somebody figured it out. Everything works better when it's clean. When you get these cattails, trees in the ditch, water backs up, it affects everybody. And the other problem I get upset about is, we're on the downhill side of all this water. I don't complain about that. It's everybody's water. It's everybody's. And a lot of these ditches were made, they weren't engineered the right size when they're made. A lot of it was because they didn't know what to do. It's what they could only afford to do, just like our grandparents. They knew what to do, but they're like, there wasn't the money to do it. Now we're going back in these ditches, getting them, 4-to-1 slopes, instead of 3-to-1s, so we're going in there, spend some money, making it right for the next 100, probably, who knows, 150 years. It's gonna cost money, but the people to manage it is the watershed. And lots of times when people manage a watershed, it's very short-sighted. It's what happens on my land, or what's it gonna cost me? It's never for everybody.
And that's what you're seeing here.
And that's what my position is.
How things are paid for, and then
It's like, we need to make these ditches the right size so water isn't a problem. Because believe me, if we do it right, it won't be near the problem. And someone will be able to tile someday because that ditch is made properly too, because there'll be a proper outlet to tiles.
It's exactly what John was talking about, though. We get kicked in the teeth because we're in here trying to get two sides to meet in the middle. You know, so half the people wanna clean the ditch, half the people don't, half the people wanna spend a lot, half the people don't wanna spend any. And we gotta try and work with them and get them to come up with something that'll work for everybody.
Well, the guy uphill doesn't wanna pay for the ditch, but he wants the ditch cleaned out.
Exactly. The guy who's
There's
feeling
always a guy down
underwater,
there.
he wants it cleaned out.
Yeah, all the time, even Flatland, North Ottawa, it's the same way. The guy down here wants a ditch, or the guy uphill wants a ditch cleaned out, but oh, I don't wanna pay for it, it's not all my water. Like,
Again,
this water thing,
people come to me all the time and they say, this needs to be done, and this needs to be done. this
Mr. Chair, let's get an answer to the question
Yeah,
about if
exactly.
there's any differences between
Exactly.
paying for the county as opposed to.
I got something I wanna say before that. I'm not in a big rush for judgment here. And it does nobody any good to be in a big rush for judgment. But everybody has to be heard, and my opinion may not agree with 75% of the other people. I still have to go along with it. I mean, that's the way this ditch law, I didn't write the ditch law. I didn't write it. But I don't see anything happening with a hearing until in the middle of the summer or early fall myself, if you're gonna do it right. Period. That's my opinion.
But going back to your question, so we'll use ditch 3 as an example. Ditch 3, the landowners wanted to turn the jurisdiction over to the Boyd of Sioux.
We turned ditch 3 over because Grant County wasn't doing their job.
Okay, yep, and so thank you for that. And then, let's say it didn't get turned over and it was still under the Boyd of Sioux. It's a repair project, so what would have happened, we'll just use $1.5 million repair project. We would have put up a bond, the county would have put up a bond, and we would have had it in your taxes for the next 20 or 25 years, I can't remember.
Just the landowners whose land is serviced by that
Yeah,
ditch.
it's called the benefited area
Got it.
of the ditch.
And the
All right.
public roads, the county and the townships are responsible for their culverts and their roads.
So I think, in essence of time, what I'm hearing is that we have some things that need to be answered. And so I don't believe we need to make a decision today to commence with a process, which then would encourage or involve a public hearing. So I would say that we should put this back on our agenda for the second meeting in May. That's gonna give us some time. And if we can't resolve some of those things, then we'll readdress this at that point. Would that be okay, Aaron?
I guess, Justin, what do you think?
Yeah, that'd be fine.
But you're not talking about advertising and having it being a hearing, we're just gonna discuss this again.
Yeah.
Just like we are today. Because at some point, we would make a motion to start the process,
Exactly.
which would include the hearings. But we're not even gonna do that today, because I think
No.
what we've experienced is that we have some work to do. If we start the process, then would need to set the hearing, and I don't know if we're ready for that. With that, I'd like to,
So what's the next step? Yeah.
So what'll happen is the second meeting in May, it'll be on our agenda for us to revisit this, and hopefully we have answers to those questions, and then we would make a motion to commence to move forward with the process or to not.
Okay, so then the second meeting in May, we can find out how much it would cost the landowners to keep it with the county as opposed to turn it over.
There's no
It
cost.
costs the same. It costs
There's no
the
cost
same.
difference.
Costs the same.
So all we're doing is, right now, these ditches are being managed by the county board. And it would simply take your funds, transfer them to the Boyd of Sioux, and they'd be utilized the same exact way.
We don't charge anymore.
Transfer funds.
So each ditch has a ditch fund,
Okay,
and each ditch fund is used for maintenance and repairs. So, let's say ditch X has $50,000, those funds are just gonna be moved to an account that the Boyd of Sioux is responsible for, and it's as simple as that. It's not gonna cost the landowners any money.
The one thing I haven't heard here yet is how long have you had Traverse County ditches? 15 years?
Since the conception of the watershed.
That makes sense.
Okay, so what about Wilton? Have you got some of the county ditches out there as well?
All them that are part of the watershed.
Okay, all right, and how about Stevens? Have you got county ditches that they gave to you guys?
But believe it or not, we're building our first new ditch for Stevens County to be able to move water.
Okay,
And, yeah, so I mean, we're in the process of making that move.
There too, there was a huge feud between counties down there.
Feuds between the.
We're just starting to get
feuds
straight
Between
now.
counties, between landowners, and it takes a long time to work through
Right.
old.
She has one more question, I think, too, so.
great. And then, but as far as transitioning into, us giving you guys the ditches, it actually works better, because then you're not working with two regulatory boards on ditch profile and all that stuff. You're gonna do the engineering anyway, but you still there would be continuity to the system.
It'd be continuity, and
Yeah.
it's actually good for the landowner, because it gives us the ability, and we have the staff and crew to do nothing but work with water, so then we can try and work harder to get grant monies to help do some of the costs of fixing these ditches.
So we need to get to our next item. So the meeting would be May 21st. Hopefully you're spraying your corn at that point. But you can stop the sprayer in time to come to, if you're interested in our meeting. So at this point, I'd like to thank everyone for their input, and obviously we have some work to do. Aaron, thank you, and we'd move on to Justin. Excuse me. Yeah.
So Mandy, sorry I couldn't be there today. Thank you for everyone's efforts in the topic management. And water in Grant County would be better managed, would be managed better with what you see over the course of time. And they manage his system exclusively, and the Grant County ditches are in need of better way of managing the system over the next 50 years. Change is hard, change is difficult, and changes cost money, and at the end of the day, we need to work together. If you want to see how Boise Sioux manages water, please take a trip to Traverse County and see their success. Thank you for listening, man.
Thank you, Mandy. We'll now move forward with Justin. He has a legal update for us. Well, we'll move forward to your part, and I guess I'd like to say thank you for those who had input on Boise Sioux.
So, I just I'll give you a couple minutes to take a look at that.
So, go ahead, you can address what you.
So last Thursday or Friday, I got an email from Kent Marshall indicating that he was gonna represent the Housing and Redevelopment Authority as it relates to the space that they've been asked to vacate at the courthouse. I called Kent and I told him that, this is, a situation that would put me in a direct conflict of interest. I, of course, represent the county, and I've represented the HRA for years. And he called yesterday indicating that he would send this correspondence by 8:30 this morning and wanted me to share it with the county board, which I am doing. So, I'm not here, given that any conflict would need to be waived, to offer you any legal advice other than if the conflict is not waived and there is some sort of proceeding that is initiated, you would have to get a counsel of your own choosing, in order to protect what the board deems is in the county's best interest.
Questions for Justin? So I could ask, and I don't know, if you can't answer, you gotta just say can't answer.
Right.
In the letter, in the third paragraph, it references Minnesota law and the eviction notice.
So if I were to tell you what Minnesota law is, in my view, that would be offering you legal advice, which
Correct.
I can't do without a waiver from a former or existing client.
So, did you have you had any communications that would indicate that they may offer the waiver, that would be able to, so we could commence something sooner than outside counsel?
Just that I will discuss the waiver with my client and I can advise you regarding that within the next day or so.
So as we sit today, the motion was that they move out of their offices by tomorrow. So I suppose in the morning of April 4th, then if they're not out, then we either have counsel that addresses this, or we don't have counsel. Or what happens at 8 o'clock on April 4th? Well, now we're asking for advice.
I can answer that. Nothing would happen if we didn't initiate anything. And if you initiate something, you're probably gonna need a court order or a,
Or, it's not,
who wants to go there?
Let's give them the day or so. I would, recommend we reconvene at 1 o'clock on Friday. And if we don't, and if we're not granted a waiver for our attorney, that he recommend or provide us with. I mean, if you want me to make a motion to, if we're not granted a waiver, to have our attorney hire one, I'll certainly make that motion. I mean, do you think we should have that before Friday at 1 or?
I always think that you should have someone who can offer you legal advice if you have questions. I've, not answered 2 questions. To Dwight's point, Dwight was a county sheriff and he was served with any number of writs of restitution of the premises, which the court issues after, someone is evicted. Minnesota is not a self-help state. You just can't change the locks. That's not the way the law in Minnesota works. That's not legal advice. That's just simply what the law is. We, at this point, there's nothing to react to, you can read into Kent's letter, whatever it is that you want, but
I do think it's probably important to understand. I did reach out to Lorna Johnson, the chairman of the HR board, and let her know that we had received correspondence. She did inform me that they had closed on the house on Friday. And waiting for internet and phone to be connected. So they kind of have a place to go. So I don't know, going back to Troy, if we need to then. The first thing we've got to find out about the waiver, right?
I will make a motion that if a waiver is not granted, that our attorney acquire us legal representation.
And if that's necessary, on Friday, I can have, the person that I would regularly refer my real estate conflicts to.
So, your motion was to, have a special meeting at 1 o'clock on Friday, the 5th.
Correct. And if there's not a waiver granted, our attorney will secure us legal representation. Once we know, whatever day that is, that we know if a waiver is granted or not.
Okay, so to make sure that, like, understand, are we gonna have the meeting even if we have council secured? Just to make sure.
I would
understand.
think so.
Yeah, we're planning a meeting and we're having the representation either by waiver or another. Is there a second to that motion?
No, second.
Discussion.
What would hurt to ask him when you can be out of there? Why would that hurt to ask Standish when you guys can be out of there? What if he said in 10 days, 2 weeks, why waste the money?
Can you reference, communications once it's gone to this point?
You know,
So I don't know, Dwight, I think my feeling is that once now we've gotten official communication from their council referencing Minnesota law, for us to have direct communications probably isn't proper. Did I say that right?
well, you know, to phrase Dwight's question the other way is, can we ask Kent?
Yeah, that's it.
You know,
Just ask him. Let's give me, why waste money on an attorney and all this and that?
rarely a waste of money.
Well, it would be in this case, I think. You know, just complicates it. It just,
So logically, we would be able to get the waiver and use our counsel that we have on staff.
when you're talking this waiver, what are we talking?
So,
What
you
I
know,
talking?
under our rules of professional responsibility, you know, I have historically represented Grant County, and
Right,
I
I got you.
historically represented the HRA. And, you know, you have duties, you know, even if I'm no longer counsel for the HRA, you have duties to former clients as well.
I got you.
So, you know, without a waiver of any conflict of interest, you know, and I could understand completely if they don't want to give that waiver. It's their choice.
So with that in mind, would you suggest then that I contact Kent as chair of the board, or that you contact Kent? And
Well, that's you know, asking a question is not engaging in legal anything.
so could,
You know, Kent, you know, indicates that he would much prefer to discuss this in a manner that would seek a resolution without court action. And he looks forward to hearing from me or from whomever the commissioners may retain for this purpose. So I can call Kent and say, you know, the board asked me, or I can ask Kent who he wants to communicate with and get a hold of you
For the Friday meeting, you're talking?
for the Friday meeting, or if
and
we
we can
wanna
get a waiver right away.
ask the question,
So what Dwight was saying.
you know, and it
effectively,
can be a limited waiver for purposes of negotiation, but not litigation. It can be whatever they want to waive or they don't want to waive.
Should we also, going back to Dwight's question, should we also go ask Kent about, how did you say it, when they think they would be moving? I mean, at some point that would get out, I would think, right?
Just find
That'd
out.
be
They have if they close on that house, they have an idea, on when they can get in there. I mean, I don't know. I haven't talked to them about what needs to be done in there, but, I'm sure they're trying to get in there as quick as they can, I think. I think they've had enough of this too, just like I have. Had enough of it. And, I want it over with. So. But we, you know, we just don't need to go through all of this. We can just ask a simple question: when are you gonna be out? And if we're satisfied with that, then we don't have to do nothing. We don't have to have another meeting or anything. Just find out, get the question. If they say 3 months, we'd probably have to do something, you know, but I don't think it's gonna be that. But, you know, if it's a week, you know, that's no big deal.
So we have a motion and a second, are we clear on the motion, Chad?
I think so. The motion was to, hold a special meeting at 1 o'clock on Friday, April 5th. Was the first part. Second part is, if the, county attorney is not granted a waiver, suppose I should include in that from the Grant County HRA.
Correct.
That the county attorney will hire an attorney on the, for the county to represent the county. Right?
Any other discussion? All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed?
Aye.
I believe we had 3 voted for the motion and 2 voted against, so the motion carried. Is there anything else that relates to that? If you want to add, Justin, or what we should add?
Is it the board's consensus that I should call Kent?
I don't think anything precluded that.
Okay.
Yeah, yes, excuse me.
Yep. I don't know that I need a motion, but, you know, if he says, you know, I prefer to deal with the chairman, then I'll direct him to you.
I can say, and because like I say, I disclosed that I had informed Lorna, the chairman of the HF board, that we were gonna have this discussion, so they were aware at 10 o'clock. That she also expressed that she didn't understand why we wouldn't let you represent us, so.
But
that's,
she's one vote on a board.
yes, that's what I was just gonna say, but she's just one. And so I think, we'll hope that they would grant that, but yes, I'd say reach out and then we can go from there. Anything else for Justin?
Nope.
Thank you.
Yep.
So the next item on the agenda was the recording and posting of the county board meeting discussion. Chad did email them out to us. At our March 5th meeting, we had Troy had brought forward, and thank you for that. There was some additional discussion. So if you look at this, if we approve this today, this would be replacing the recording and posting guidelines that was approved on March 5th, 2024. I'll give you a chance if you have it in your email to look at. One of the things, and I did visit with Chad about this, I think it's whether it's a point of discussion or not, but number 4 would be whether we approve individual recordings of meetings will not be approved. In other words, that if somebody was online on Zoom, that we would, and they requested record, that we would not approve that. That way, that couldn't get redacted or edited, so we have a difference of recording / posting. And that's gonna be a point of discussion.
Without having a policy that excludes that, can we do that? I don't know.
Help me out with that we can include.
So for Western Prairie to not be able to record, whether it's audio or video, board meetings, we have to have a policy in place and it's gotta be posted. So if you ask Justin if that's.
Well, I said this to Justin and he asked if I had communications with Chad, and I had. I can't obviously speak for him. He had to go.
And I don't know, maybe that's complete, I mean, that's my experience with another entity of recording board meetings. Well, it's not just board meetings, anything. And maybe that's not an issue. I don't know.
Yeah, I guess it's something.
In our discussion, my discussion with Ken was, I was just posing the question.
Well, I'm not, I mean, that
was just a topic that got brought up in a discussion, or is the county board going to allow the recording by members that attend? Well, first of all, are you gonna allow members to attend the meeting by Zoom? Second of all, if you're going to allow them to attend by Zoom, are you gonna let them record? And that's our discussion. It was a question.
no, and those are my concerns when I looked at number 4. I also have concerns with like 7 and 8. There's nothing in there about like, so 7, it just says they're gonna review. It doesn't say that if you find closed meeting information, what do you do? And what if you can't get it posted for whatever reason in 10 days? There's nothing about what you do.
That's why we're talking about it. So let's, since we probably don't know the answer to number 4 right now, let's talk about then your idea with number 7 then. You to ensure closed sessions are not visible, and heard prior to posting. Should it also prove then that would be redacted or changed or?
No. I'm not redacting, we're not redacting anything. What originally was stated is if there's non-public, private, closed session information, it's not posted and there's a report issued to the board. We're not editing or changing or redacting anything is a slippery slope that we do not want to go down. And as far as 10 days, what was originally said was if it's not posted by the next meeting, a report is issued to the board. So this is really changing a lot of stuff. Because it says now, ensure closed sessions are not visible, heard, or prior to I mean, that said closed sessions, non-public, private data, that's a broader definition than just closed sessions. We're changing quite a bit of stuff.
Okay.
But that, Mr. Chair, that's the only point, isn't it, that we don't want any of that confidential stuff going out, right? So if it happened to be recorded, you have to take that out of there, right? Is that what we're saying?
No, the original motion was we just didn't post it if it was on there and there's a report issued to the board.
Okay.
I know you're gonna wanna talk,
So
you're gonna wanna talk to your attorney about editing anything.
that's what I mean, and so you just won't post any of the meeting?
You would not post that meeting at all.
Right.
And there would be a report issued to the board
Yeah,
as of to what,
Okay.
there was non-public data that was shared during the meeting.
so, yeah, okay.
So the county's liability side of it is then we're just not gonna post that.
Yeah, okay.
So,
What kind of data is not public?
Closed
For
meeting.
example, but what would we discuss it at closed meeting?
Negotiation.
Oh, with like personnel and stuff?
Yeah.
Oh.
So, and this does not say either that HR, the original motion gave HR, if they had a suspicion, it gave them the authority to talk to the county attorney to verify that this data shouldn't be posted, where this does not have HR going to the county attorney to verify that that is data that shouldn't be posted.
I disagree with what we had because if it's a closed session, I'll use myself, if I say something I shouldn't in this meeting, shame on me. I should know better. And the way you have it, then we will be scrutinizing that and potentially not post it. I don't agree with that. If it's a closed session, it's closed. Other than that, this is democracy at its finest. It's clear transparency, and if we have a problem with that, well, then we gotta go back to square one, but, so I don't agree with Troy on that.
So what you're saying then, Kenny, is that we have to go in and pull it out of there. That's what you're saying. And then-
Only during the closed session,
Yeah,
yeah. But
You
if
disagree with-
if I say something that I shouldn't have, shame on Ken.
I know.
So you're saying that if there was something on a recording for a closed session, that you'd want that edited and then posted?
Yeah,
Oh, yeah, I see that.
because the transparency, if a closed session inadvertently, because of the technology, gets on the recording, that should not prevent the rest of the meeting from being posted. Yes,
Just a comment from HR as the one to be posting this on YouTube. I don't want the responsibility or the liability on me for editing anything. So the only thing that I would be responsible for is making sure that there's a closed session and not, if a closed session or information is posted and it shouldn't be, then I don't post it. I don't post that meeting. I don't want to be responsible or liable for any editing.
So what you're saying is if you inadvertently, because of technology, a closed session gets recorded, the whole meeting is not posted.
That was the last motion.
The advice from our council, when we're working up to this was, if you don't wanna post it, don't post it, but don't edit it.
And I'm fine with giving you a report of why it's not posted, and if someone wants that report, I can give that to them. I don't wanna touch it. I don't wanna cut, I don't wanna.
Cause the whole idea was everything was in context because you recorded the whole meeting, and now we're talking about cutting chunks of it out. Okay,
Yeah, when it said board clerk that HR will only have access to this folder, this is our discretion, this is our transparency. In my opinion, every time you should plug in, the board chair as part of that process. So there's compliance from the board and an agent from the board for that compliance process. That's where I'm at. I said that from the beginning when we talked about it.
Are you required by law to record a closed meeting? I mean, if it's closed, it's closed.
A closed meeting for negotiations has to be recorded.
For negotiations, but not disciplinary.
it's recorded differently than what we're talking about.
Differently than this.
So like,
You mean just record like,
well, no, so Justin will take and record it on his phone, so he keeps it,
oh, okay,
so that if there's ever a lawsuit, he has what was discussed during.
let's not share to the
It's,
public.
it's completely different than right, it's completely different than what we're talking about here with recording.
Okay.
But the topic of the closed meeting has to surface when we're done.
If we happen to not turn off the camera or
Right.
not mute it before we go into closed session and it happens to be on there.
Like a hot mic.
Yeah.
So on March fifth, there was a motion and a second that the clerk of the board shall record the meetings on Zoom. Once recorded, the clerk shall move the recording to the server space assigned by IT. HR will review any closed sessions that may be in the recording to ensure that it's kept confidential. If there is a question about a recording having confidential information or non-public or private data, HR will consult the county attorney. If deemed to have confidential information or non-public or private data, that recording will not be posted and a report will be sent to the board. HR will upload the video with exception above to the county's YouTube channel. HR will add a link to the county's website to the YouTube channel. Additional, the minutes of the meeting will still be the official record of the county. While HR will review closed sessions and ensure confidentiality, it will remain up to each board member to ensure they are not discussing personal matters at an open meeting. If a meeting is not posted by the next meeting, there should be a report to the board as to why. Outside of that, I would propose no posting timelines. Okay, this is the second time I brought it forward. Is there a motion to approve the change? Otherwise, we're gonna go to committee reports. And it'll remain as March fifth. Now, hearing none. That discussion is closed unless someone wants to work on it in the future. Committee reports, you wanna talk about the LRP a little more?
I think he took his paperwork, but,
Oh, he took your paperwork?
He did.
Oh.
So, doesn't matter. We ended up with LRAP funds of towns of 5,000 and under, and applications got submitted. And we, City of Bevel Lake poked in this elevator road, for the, west of Main Street, and we were not successful. But we were successful, on County Road 5 and what was laid out there. And so there's gonna be $1.4 million coming in the state of Minnesota for construction on County Road 5. I would guess from 27 all the way through and tie onto the elevator and do a crossing and change the geometry of that whole intersection.
I think didn't we say out past Elk Lake Beach originally? Out to what I would call the tail camp corner?
I don't know if we can get it all done for that, but I don't know. This is Matt's world. All of this is just committee reports. And he's gonna bring it to the board on kind of his plan for that revenue. So we can't steal his thunder, in my opinion.
Yep. But you just did.
Yeah.
We shouldn't do what I just did.
No, I'm just making you aware that we were successful, that's all.
Mr. Chair, may I make a motion to approve the Octa Central Trail Resolution and the Low Plains Drifters Resolution?
Okay, we have a motion and you were sent both of those. Is there a second
Second.
discussion as it relates to those two?
More of the resolutions,
What's that?
Grant and aid snowmobile trails.
Yep.
that just, okay,
It's every year.
yeah, nothing special then.
Yeah.
Okay.
They've gotta have a government fiscal
Yep.
host.
Yep.
We get the money, give it to them.
You have both the resolution numbers, because you sent them to us, right?
Yep.
Any other discussion? All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Carried. Is there other? Yeah, go ahead.
Okay, with the law library. Okay. They met and, they're in the process, they're looking for somebody to work a few hours a month up there, $80 a month. And, so they'll find somebody to do that, to keep that place organized and everything. And then another thing that was brought up is they want the board to, make a motion to discontinue the law library fee on criminal cases. And that's a fee that, is imposed, for the upkeep of the law library. And, they've got, there's a couple reasons. One is, you know, it isn't really necessary anymore because they have, Justin told me that they have like, 20,000 in that law library fund, and we just don't need to be putting that burden on anybody anymore. So, and it's probably hard to collect from certain people too. So we need a motion to discontinue the law library, fee. And I'll make that motion if somebody wants to say.
I'll second it, and then I'll have comment that Dwight, I paid that fee, everybody else should be. No, I will second that
Look at
motion.
how good he turned out.
Yeah, look how good he turned out.
Well,
Yeah.
So you talked about the $80 a month. That's a separate
That
deal?
comes out of that fund.
Well,
I think we pay that.
we budget so much a year, right? For the library, no, I mean, there's a,
But that money,
I thought there was a little line item.
county tax dollars in the levy that go to the law library.
right,
Okay.
but it's funded out of that.
So eventually that fund could go dry, and at that point, then we gotta address it 18 years from now or whatever.
Yeah.
I won't care at that.
Uh-huh.
I won't care at that.
Yeah, me neither.
So anyway.
So we have a motion to discontinue the law library fee. In a second, is there any additional discussion? All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Carried.
Okay, I got one more.
Yep, yep.
Okay, we've had our EMS committees met a couple times, but, we did meet again last night. We got Hoffman to include it into that meeting. And that's, Ryan DeClerc, is that right?
Yep.
Anyway, he came, we met in Ashby, talked, Slotnick was there, Eric Rudroot, Bill, me, and Ryan. And we just discussed for an hour and a half, you know, what's going on and things like that. I was kind of curious about Hoffman, you know, because we haven't really talked to them so much, but, they, you know, they have 4 members that are, you know, active when they can. And, you know, Ryan, he knows that's a problem, and personnel is their problem, okay? And, you know, what do we do about that? Well, we don't know, you know, volunteers, so, but, he did say that, you know, it's a city-owned ambulance. Their ambulance is 16 years old, and he figured in 5 years they would have to do something, you know. And, I just asked him what's your outlook for the ambulance? And, you know, he didn't really know. He said the city of Hoffman, though, has said that they always will have an ambulance. Isn't that what he said? No.
Yeah.
So, you know, I just don't know with volunteers, but, Grant County or Elbow Lake they cover calls for them during the day because there's nobody there. So, you know, they're answering those calls, but Hoffman still runs 100 calls a year. 40% of them are in Douglas County. And, so, you know, that's, it's a concern, you know? So then, you know, we talked a little bit about, you know, Hoffman and Ashby are ambulances that are in other counties, you know? So we talked about trying to figure out, you know, you know, we asked them what their needs are. And, Ashby said for now, they're good, you know, they were concerned about, you know, Elbow Lakes ambulance. But in the future, they might not be. So what we're working on next is figuring out percentages of, you know, how much Otter Tail, a big percentage of, Ashby ambulance, and so is Douglas County. And they're gonna try to figure out the percentages for Grant County in there. So then, you know, we talked to, you know, we talked about this request from Elbow Lake, on the 100,000 a year for the new ambulance, and then, of course, that relief fund. And Bill and I told them, you know, the simpler part of this is the equipment, the relief, you know, we'd have to look into a lot more stuff, so that's kind of where we're at there. It takes 2 years. If they order an ambulance today, they won't get it for 2 years. They don't have to pay for it for 2 years either, but it's a locked-in price if they order it now compared to 2 years from now, where it would be considerable amount more, like Bill and I have seen with Rainbow Rider there.
Okay.
The only thing with Rainbow Rider is that the prices that we bid out in 20, how much more a bus are they now?
100,000 additional.
Per bus.
Right.
So.
It's ridiculous, is what it is.
So that's what we gotta look at is, you know, do we, feel that we should commit for, you know, X amount of years, putting money away for that ambulance, or not? So that's the question we're gonna have to, you know.
Dwight, can I ask you a question?
Yeah.
That in Elbow Lake here, Lake region, that backup ambulance is a 96.
That's right.
Have they said how many miles are on? I know they said there's over 300 on the newer one
Yeah.
already.
Yeah, now, yeah, what they say is that old ambulance, they don't wanna even use it because.
Well, right, I'm just, they've gotta be well over 1 million, if not 2.
Right. It's not good, and the other one's got a lot of miles on it. They kind of they're trying to discontinue some of these transports to save miles on that newer one. But then, of course, if you turn that down, you're losing a little money too.
Yeah.
But,
One, how does somebody who's sick get from here to there?
right. So, you know, like we said, you know, we have to keep this in our, you know, in our forward thinking, because we have to have ambulances in Grant County. And Elbow Lake is the Grant County, they got jurisdiction throughout the whole county. Now, there's other ambulances that overlap, but if they're not there, Grant County has to take that, so. So that's, you know, we just told them we're gonna meet again, as soon as we can. This is the second one, but that's the question that's gonna come. Do we, you know, put in our budget for, you know, pretty soon now for an ambulance, dedicating X amount of dollars for how many years, towards that. And then they can order it. And the relief, we just gotta figure out, there's so much more work to do there. Just figuring out how that whole program would work if we would do that. So. And we did talk, you know, a little bit about, you know, the other ambulances there, you know, they're asking for 200,000 a year. If it was 400 or 600,000, then, you know, for the ambulances. So that's where we need to probably sit down maybe with the Hoffman City Council and ask them, what are your thoughts on your ambulance? You know, this Ryan, he's just working basically day and night for that ambulance. He works during the day over in Alec, and then at night he takes calls, him and 3 other people. So Yeah, so, but I think that's one thing that we should do is probably talk to the city council, Bill, and ask them, well, what are your thoughts here? With that, because,
Well, three of them are responders, right? They're EMTs.
Yeah.
That sit on that council down there, so. You know, it'll be a reflection on whether they wanna keep it around, in which they should do, in my opinion. Now, how long that clinic stays open down in Hoffman, that's the next question too. So,
There's a plant, the Lake Region plant.
yep.
but we're hearing,
They've
There
already
is things
moved out.
going on there.
They've already moved out.
okay,
So that's a hospital.
Well, then there you go. So how much call you gonna need out of the fire department, rescue and things like that? Are you done, Blake?
well, I got one more thing.
Okay.
We just gotta keep in mind that Lake Region Hospital, they got, it's 9 employees, I think, that are on that ambulance, and during the day, then you see, they allow them to go with the ambulance and they pay them. And so they're throwing some money in there that way, with those 9 employees, and I think there's, I know there's 2 paramedics for sure, and I think there's a 3rd paramedic, so they have, you know, we're covered that way during the day, they can get out there and cover these overlaps that nobody can go. And they've actually been running to Fergus Falls on calls. Because Ringdale, or the ambulance up there, you know, there hasn't been any. So they've been actually in Fergus Falls like 3-4 times in the last few months on calls. So it's something that we have to, you know, keep in mind, and I guess, you know, at some point here, we'll just have to ask the board, what's your thoughts on equipment for Lake Region?
So I got a question, Ashby had recommended a countywide EMS committee that involved a few more people. Did you talk about expanding this committee and involving people from the city council or the Lake Region? Or do you think this committee is adequate, moving forward?
Well,
I think this committee is adequate. You just said you gotta do the legwork and go to the meetings, and so we can get everybody on one page. Just to see, you know, the momentum, and, you know, I wanna touch here a little bit on this EMS funding coming out of the state. It's a global agreement that the governor and Senate and House are talking about this 16 million bucks, but there is, Representative David Lindesgaard, he has $122 million bill in the House, and they're headed towards some type of funding, a lot more than the 16 million that's gonna come that the governor has kind of approved. So we're not dead in the water down with the state yet. So that's kind of where I'm at. I just want to see, you know, the momentum and whether something's gonna come out of that or not. Because they know it's critical and they're understanding it. So we'll just, I guess, we got updates in our AMC email. If you read that, you'll see that. We got it yesterday.
when does that session end? The legislative session?
May
Is it like
20th.
Something.
Like 7 weeks? From now?
Yeah,
Yeah, real close, 8, yeah, somewhere in there.
So,
I got a question. Is this, so the money from the state, the issue is in rural ambulance service, right?
Mhm.
It sounds like the ambulance services in the cities are pretty well funded because they get enough billings, right?
Correct. So Medicaid,
Yeah, they're-
Medicare, Medicaid.
So is that, I mean, is the state money allocating to the rural area, or are they still, are they gonna pad the pockets of these other businesses in the cities? Cause it sounds like, what I've been learning about this whole thing is like, why is this not essential service? And I go back to, the answer to me has gotta be the money. Cause somebody must be making a lot of money at this somewhere if it's not essential. And it's not rural.
When you got private entities that are
Right.
tied into this, it's exactly right.
Right, there's so many private entities in the cities making a bunch of money off this, and they would not wanna see it go essential services, they lose on their money, but it's hurting us out here, cause we don't have enough. I mean, I'd say enough volume,
Correct.
you know?
This bill is intended to be a stopgap measure and prevent struggling ambulance services, particularly in the rural areas from shutting down. So that's the emphasis, and this rep, Dave Lillistard, well, he's one heck of a salesman, and he's a smart man, and he knows how to talk and herd some cats down there, so I have to believe that we're gonna get something out of this, other than the 16 million bucks.
But Bill, that bill though, that's a one-time deal, isn't it?
No, more than likely,
Yeah.
but, you know, I talked to him yesterday on the phone, and kind of threw that back in their lap because we talked about it here at that EMS meeting that we had about public safety funds that come out to the counties. And, you know, he didn't, I don't think he understood that. You know what I mean? The reps that were sitting here. So I threw that back, information back at him. And they were talking about creating some type of a, you know, committee department to just be able to, you know, reflect on this and actually look into it. And it was like $2-3 million and backers like, what for? There's no reason to do this. And I said the same thing. We all got a spreadsheet. You created that spreadsheet for public safety dollars. Just backfill it, figure it out from there. So I sent that information to him and he's gonna talk about that today on the House floor. So that's the plan.
I got a question for Chad. So let's say this 100,000 for the equipment, if we were gonna, I don't know what the right word is, where we, like we do for HRA or the Historical Society, where we assess the taxpayers, is that the right?
Levy it.
Levy, thank you. What's the process and timing for us to do that?
Well, you set it at you will have a preliminary budget that you will approve in September.
Okay,
And that'll go on your truth and taxation notices, that's when you set your preliminary budget, this will be part of your preliminary budget for 2025. And then in December is when you, act upon or certify the final levy.
so the process is from the budgeting standpoint, we wouldn't have to necessarily do anything like there's gotta be some organization and with some. Like I said, we can't fund a concept, we gotta fund a plan. Right? Is there requirements for us to commence to do that from the budgeting standpoint, or can we just do that?
If you wanna budget X dollars for, this project, yeah, then it's just where do the funds be transferred to?
We go to Lake Region to buy an ambulance.
Wherever they, you know.
Okay.
But the one thing, Mr. Chair, is that if we told Lake Region that we're gonna support them, you know, for X amount of years, and then we levy for it, we don't have to pay that money till they would say, hey, the ambulance is here.
Yeah, we could
So
keep
we
the money in our
we would-
reserves, yeah.
Yeah, we would just have to reserve it till
Earmark
for 2 years, you know.
So, and that kind of gets back to leading up to, and I brought this up, and I don't know if we talked about this, but is the importance if, and I'll representing Hoffman and Elk Lake and Land Townships, is what part of the service area that the Hoffman ambulance is serving in Grant County? Because I know they go into Douglas. How many of those tax dollars would come out of the Hoffman area? So let's say we are gonna do the 100 to start with. That's $7 a year on my property, 7.5 or whatever. But how many total dollars? Is it 10,000? Is it 20,000? So I can say to the city council, we're contributing to an ambulance in Lake Region to ensure long-term program. This is the amount coming out of our area. And I think that analytically needs to be known. We need to know the number, and I would think Ashby would want to know the number. So we can demonstrate the cause for the greater good. And so I don't know if your next meeting, but you.
I think that's what they were trying to figure out.
Yeah, but I think.
But the thing there is too, is that right now, there's quite a few calls that Lake Region covers in Hoffman.
No,
Yeah.
that I understand. What I'm saying is, if the city council in Hoffman says, wait a minute, we gotta buy our own,
And it's common.
it's coming, but for the, like I say, for the greater good long term. And I think the numbers, Chad's got the numbers, they just need to find out the service area, right? Which townships in the city and da.
You can provide the service areas to them, you can figure it out.
Yes,
It's not, as long as there are certain townships, but when you start drawing jagged lines on a map,
Yeah.
that's not so easy.
Chad, we seen last night, there's an EMS map, service map, what was under the emergency services.
Yeah, but they said.
The sheriff's office has it, because when a call pops up, they know instantly where.
Yeah, but if you're gonna try and draw a circle on a map, and you want me to try to figure out which taxis and what where?
I'll talk to Holmes.
I can do it.
But I mean, we'd be able to kind of get a little, I don't know, that would be a hundred.
You'd have to square it up to the township.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying, is you'd have to kind of. split it up.
I can do it, it's just not.
But I'm trying to remember like
The
Elk
second
Lake,
factor of that is this,
Yeah,
like I know
how much
Lake
money are
Region.
you gonna, I mean, it's like buying a car. How much is my car gonna cost me every month?
Yeah.
Well, how long is how much are you borrowing and how long is the term? I mean, if you're gonna, yeah, I can give you service area, but what dollar amount are you talking about? 100,000, 50,000,
Yeah.
400,000? It's kind of two things you gotta know.
Cause I think Lake Region goes, you know, Hoffman doesn't have part of Elk Lake Township, but I think they have the vast, I mean, just square it up and
yeah,
say.
you gotta, Cause I mean, I got calls, well, what do you mean we're gonna be buying an ambulance? I don't have a problem with the concept. But I gotta have an answer for them. And that's my point, is I can say, well, it would be this X amount of dollars for the greater good. Oh, well, okay,
When does Hoffman City Council meet?
usually the first Monday of the month.
At like 7 o'clock?
Yeah.
So it's an evening meeting. Okay, well, that's probably something Dwight and I and, you know, Spock and, you know, Ryan, we should meet with those guys down there. So that should be our next step. Just to, for the unknowns and if they.
They need to be asked that question. If you have no personnel, what are you gonna do with your ambulance?
Well, yeah,
You know, and if they don't have an ambulance, then that gets absorbed into Grant County's, you know, if it went away. But they gotta have a plan there. They gotta get personnel then. Yeah, so, and it's a tough deal. I feel sorry for them.
They struggle with staffing it all day long.
What
Well,
is,
that's when it's critical.
I mean,
I mean,
Hoffman's 14 miles from here, right?
Yeah.
What is Kensington gonna do if Hoffman doesn't have an ambulance?
Yeah.
So they're significant, and I mean, I get it, we're Douglas County, it's not really our problem, but if you're talking about just serving the people,
Yeah.
Kensington gets farther away than, from everybody else that.
Yeah.
Oh.
It's a worry, that's for sure, so.
I think what happens if you get this number down where you're saying, look, we're gonna fund it through the county to ensure long-term EMS service is gonna be headquartered out of Elbow Lake. They probably realize that. They're not ready to fold up yet, but they probably, because of the calls, right? Not much different than fire service. If you're gonna offer fire service to Erdall Township, there's a cost, and I think eventually then the ambulance would go to Solon Township and Douglas County, say, hey, we need.
Problem there again is in that if the city of Barrett said, hey, we're just not gonna fund our fire department, everybody's fire insurance rates go through the roof because they don't have a fire department right there.
Yeah.
You don't have that same immediate impact with ambulance service because it's not.
What I'm saying, if you're gonna fund a plan and you're moving towards the essential service concept, then you go to Solon Township and say, look, we need $500. You're the local government unit that, just like a fire contract, they would put in money to the greater good. And, but we can't tax in Douglas County. I just think it's eventually gonna be an essential service. I don't think we can wait for the state. So let's model it over after that and start funding it. And trying to. That's kind of the idea. Anything more? In which name? You said Ryan, who, did you say DeClerc?
I thought so.
It's DeSmith.
DeSmith.
I'm sorry,
Yeah,
DeClerc is a
DeSmith,
Barrett name.
Yeah. Thought you said.
No, I said DeClerc.
Oh, okay.
There is one other thing,
Yep.
Troy brought it up, but Eric brought it up too, you know, the one ambulance is the 96 or whatever. The newer one they got has big miles on it, so basically if they get a new ambulance in 2 years, they're gonna need another one pretty shortly. And, you know, so, but, so it's just something to keep in mind.
Well, and
And
it's
then-
concerning that they're running, I mean, my understanding is they run a lot of transports.
Mhm.
And I don't know which ambulance they're taking, but if they take the new one. Now, you know, we just talked about how right now there's probably nobody in Hoffman, right? And you've got an ambulance that's 28 years old. And we're understaffed the way it is, and if there's some sort of bad accident. Our nearest ambulance is now, we got one in Ashby, and then we're waiting for Alec or Fergus or Morris, or if there's something happens to that one.
Yeah. So it,
Well, I'd say keep on it, guys. I mean, I know we gotta.
we'll keep plugging and then.
Senator Rasmussen talked about like a pilot car, get money for like a pilot car. I said, we've had one of them for a couple of years. Oh, good. Okay.
Then we did talk last night, you know, it'd be nice to have another pilot car, but you could have a paramedic in them.
Right.
And it'd be nice to have a pilot car. They wanted, Eric was talking, it'd be beautiful if they could have one in Barrett. You know, with a paramedic
I
available
was just
for
gonna
it.
say, who's the paramedic with Barrett?
Yeah, but maybe someday that'll happen. But these pilots.
No, no.
400,000.
460 some thousand.
Well, one off the top of my head, just sitting here thinking. Something that might work to pursue at the state level, you know, the county now is, we only own 2 of our spots. The rest of them we lease through state of Minnesota, based on miles, based on years, based on X, Y, and Z. If these agencies are having problems, purchasing newer equipment, ambulances, is it something the state could look into acquiring X per year and then having agencies be able to lease them for 5 to 10 years to reduce that upfront first time purchase and pay that back over a set amount of time? Where they would be able then to not have a 28-year-old ambulance, but within 7, 8, 10 years, turn that one back in and then lease will start.
That's a good idea.
I don't know, well.
You
They do have spots.
would assume
We
that
do have a
somebody's.
spot there.
You would assume.
I'd guess Bill's gonna get on that.
Okay.
I'll find out more, I'm sure, this evening, when they're all said and done, so send some
Okay.
texts out, just
It's a
see
good
what's what.
idea.
So how does this sound then? We'll wait till the legislative session's over with before we try to do anything as far as the equipment side of it. Just to see what the fund, if there is any funding coming.
I would still, you know, try to discover needs.
Yeah.
The other
Meeting
thing,
with the city council and Hoffman,
Yeah.
that's what I think we should.
Yeah, no, we're gonna do that too, but.
That's next.
But as far as a motion to order an ambulance for them here, giving them the permission, we'll wait till. You know, then we'll know the next two are exactly the same, but yours 2,000.
the other, thing, and I can't remember if I talked to you about this or not, but is to have a inventory looking long-term. Like you said, pretty soon we're gonna need another one. Well, if maybe we need an inventory of what's in Ashby and what's in Hoffman. And so we're not just looking at one site, we're looking at the whole program. And to find that out, this is the condition of this ambulance and this one and this one. What's our vision 5 years down the road?
Right.
And I know it's sensitive, you don't wanna go to city council in the town and say, well, you're not gonna have an ambulance.
No.
It's not our
you
job
can't
to
say
tell
that.
them that.
Well, Ryan said.
I don't wanna hear that.
No.
There's a strong opinion in Hoffman that we're gonna have it in.
Yeah, but when the same token, how are they gonna fund the equipment?
Well, I would not be worried so much about funding the equipment for Hoff and saying we're gonna have an ambulance, because they can do that. Are they gonna have staff?
Right.
Right.
Yeah,
That's the one you can't control.
But that's the portion of it where if there was some type of relief association established, so there's more than $50, token money on an ambulance run. You know what I mean? They've gotta have some type of a standardization of retainage. So much like a relief association on the fire department side of it. It's just inevitable. It's the way it's headed because the volunteerism out here isn't fostering that that climate anymore. That's the trouble.
And that's where we gotta meet with Justin too, just to, about the relief request here, we need to look into that. And even if it doesn't happen, we still need to look into it, so we got the answers as far as if we did do this, how would we do it? What can we do as far as bylaws and stuff? We have to look into all that, even if it doesn't go.
Right.
Otherwise, we ain't gonna know, so,
Well, and Ashby's part of the fire department, so they are on PDRA.
yeah, we're on, yeah.
Hoffman's on nothing.
They could be though.
It could be, and
And
Elbow
Elbow Lake's on
Lake is,
nothing.
they're on nothing, but they want their independent plan, which wouldn't be, and so that's got to all come together.
Yeah, and that's gonna take more time than saying yes to ordering an ambulance.
Well, I say, I think we talked, to me, it's easier to start funding the ambulance part and work on that later.
Yeah, well, that's, and
In statute, they talk about this essential services and stuff like that. They talk about a service delivery authority. Now, that could be us. Okay, now this is a Justin question. Why, what are you saying?
I don't think we wanna be the service delivery authority.
No. I mean, you would create
Get rid
that,
of our
not us,
ditches,
the
we
county
can
board.
Well, that's the way you made it sound, if you're talking about us, that could be us.
You're misunderstanding what I'm
I'll
talking
make
about.
that motion.
It would be execution of a joint powers board. So you'd have to create some type of a structuring to do that. And we've done that clear across, what I mean? Horizon's a joint powers board, Western Prairies is a joint powers board, Rainbow Rider, Boy Sioux Watershed, it's all joint powers agreements and things like that. So we would get involved with something like that. You'd have to have a couple of commissioners to sit on it.
Anything else? Meeting adjourned at 11:25. Thank you, everyone.
Thank you.
Oh.
Yes.
I mean, feel this afternoon, John.
Yeah. They'd already been